Okay, everyone, it looks like our numbers of those signing on is slowing down a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And if anyone else joins us, that's great. They can hop right in. So good morning, again, morning from where I am, good afternoon or day or evening, wherever you are. My name is Claire Kreft. I am an assistant director of undergraduate admission here at Santa Clara University. And I am joined by 4 incredible panelists from our housing and residential life departments on campus. So in just a minute, I'm going to let them introduce themselves, but I have a couple of quick updates first for how we like to start our sessions here. Before we continue with some updates, we also are going to pause for a land acknowledgement. So we pause to acknowledge that Santa Clara University sits on the land of the Ohlone and Muwekma Ohlone people who trace their ancestry through the missions Dolores, Santa Clara, and San Jose. We remember their connection to this region and give thanks for the opportunity to live, work, learn, and pray on their traditional homeland. Let us take a moment of silence to pay respect to their elders and to all Ohlone people of the past and present. So if you could join me in a moment of silence. All right, thank you. It is important, even though we are in this virtual space, to recognize that where our campus physically sits is on this ancestral homeland. So a brief update, a lot of the questions that we get continually about admissions or other things or housing or residential life are what's going to happen in the fall. Now, we don't have a crystal ball and we will address some questions as best we can, but in general, we do just want to say our campus plan is to be on campus in the fall. So that is for both classes and living. Of course, we need to make sure that we are putting the safety of our community first. So we follow county, state, and federal guidance. But just so you are aware, our plan for Santa Clara University is to be back on campus in the fall. Another note from the admission office too is that we are getting a lot of requests about coming to visit campus. I do know that that is a big part of the college decision process. So we do want to let you know of some of the options that we have currently. Our campus is open for visitors for self-guided tours at this time. What we ask is if you are coming to campus that you keep your tour group to an individual household, right? To an individual family. Everyone must wear a mask and you must still practice social distancing. We do have an app that you can access on either iPhone or Android called Mobile SCU. There's a tile in there that says Visitor's Guide, and that's where you can find our self-guided tour. It is GPS enabled and it is narrated by one of our student tour guides. So it is the closest thing that you can get at this time, which is great. We also do have our admission counselors who are safely rotating back on campus and are sitting outside of the admission office at a table. If you have any questions, you can chat with them before or after your self-guided tour. As we continue to slowly open up our campus, we are eventually able to also offer small one-on-one tours that are led by a student. So one household, a maximum of 3 guests, and then one of our student tour guides. We cannot offer many of these a day. So if you are interested in setting one of these up, please email our admission office or call at 408-554-4700. Feel free to screenshot this slide or your screen right now if you want that information to consider setting up a tour. So with that, I believe that is all of my updates. Oh, last update. If you realize that you have any questions that we are unable to get to today, we do have a packed list of questions, and I know that you may have some more specific questions that you want to ask. If you need to get in touch with an admission counselor, you can go to scu.edu/findyourcounselor, and that's how you can identify which admission counselor you can connect with. And then our guests may be sharing their contact information as well. And you can also look up the websites for housing and residential life on the SCU website. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and I'm going to let my 4 wonderful guests introduce themselves. So Margarita, we'll start with you in housing.
Good morning, afternoon, everybody. As Claire mentioned, my name is Margarita Malagon. I also go by Maggie, a nickname. I am the Director of Housing and Business Services at Santa Clara University. We are so excited to have our new class and community members and new Broncos join us. So welcome.
Great. And Dr. Tim, how about you?
Yes, good morning, Broncos. We're so excited to welcome you this fall. Like Claire said, my name is Dr. Tim Leyson. You can call me Tim. I currently serve as one of our associate directors our residence life. And so we're really excited to engage with you all in the fall and can't wait to see you.
Wonderful, thanks. And we have two amazing students who are joining us. So Alex, we'll start with you and then Brooke.
Perfect. Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Alex Hadsall. I am actually a current master's student here at Santa Clara, but I did my undergraduate here as well. So I've been here for a total of 6 years now. In all 6 of those years, I've lived on campus. So I've had a great experience and I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you all today.
And hello, my name is Brooke. I am a current junior, not quite at Alex's level yet, but I have lived on campus all 3 years. I lived in Unity RLC my first 2 years, and then now I'm a CF in Communitas RLC. So super excited. Welcome Broncos, so exciting.
Thank you so much. And yes, indeed, welcome to all of our guests who are joining us today. We are so incredibly excited to welcome you to our Bronco community, even if for now we're just doing that virtually. And we are so incredibly proud of you as well. It was a tough year to be admitted to Santa Clara this year, so you really are at the top of your game to be an admitted student, and we are just so excited to welcome you. So we are going to get started with our questions. If you all see my eyes darting around the screen, it's because I've got my questions on another screen, but I promise I'm here and I'm present with you. The first few are going to be directed to Maggie and housing because there are a few of these COVID related questions about the fall. So the first question, what is the fall 2021 plan for on-campus housing? Will first-year students who want to live on campus be allowed to?
Yes, so again, we are grateful that we are on plan to have a full group join us for the fall on campus. So as Claire mentioned, not only at the university, but also in our residence halls in our communities. So we are moving forward with what we would consider a traditional year, a traditional term in the fall. And so, double occupancy, we have a few singles here and there, and more information can be found on su.edu/living. That's where you can get to the RLCs, as well as the congratulations brochure, I think had a little bit more information, like a snapshot where you can have and compare the different communities and what the different amenities are also. So we are moving along with a traditional fall, and we also have a first year residency requirement. So just to remind folks that we do plan to have our first year class living on campus with us. Now, with that said, if there are some of our community members that might need to be, living at home, or there's some specific reasons why they would not, want to live on campus, or there's some other circumstances, there is a residency requirement exception. And that information, again, can be found a little bit more on su.edu/living, and through the housing portal, that's where you would apply for the residency requirement exception. But we are anticipating having 97% of our first year class on campus. So you're welcome, Dr. Leyson, and our wonderful CFs and ARDs and all of our staff. So we are planning for a full traditional fall term experience.
And a few follow-up questions to that. Will our vaccinations going to be required, and will students be in double rooms, or will they have roommates, or will they all be single occupancy rooms?
Yeah, these are great questions. And on the vaccination question, that is still being reviewed and vetted based on, just as we've experienced in the last 13 months, we've had so many different shifts and changes with COVID, and as resources have been, rolled out. So that, my understanding, I was just recently in a meeting that we're still looking at those specifics, but please know we would be communicating any shift or any change or any requirement or any recommendation, et cetera, as soon as we have that available. So it's the vaccination piece. We're still gonna, we're still working on figuring that out, or at least having some kind of recommendation. And then in terms of the plan fall, again, we are looking at a traditional, in our traditional type of communities, having 2 students per, the room. So we are looking at roommates, and if you are interested in submitting a request for your roommate, make sure you include it in your housing application, because that is part of that process. And then if you've already submitted your application, no problem. You still have until May 1st to make any adjustments. All you have to do is just email housing@su.edu and we will go ahead and make that change for you. But yeah, again, traditional, mostly double, doubles or 2 people per bedroom is what we're looking at right now.
Awesome. And kind of last question on this topic. If plans do change and rooms need to move or whatever happens, will student fees be adjusted?
Absolutely. I think what we've learned this past, again, 13 months or so is that we have to have that plan B that we have, and maybe C and D also, just in case, so that we can shift to whatever we need to based on recommendations by the county and the state. That's how we've managed this whole process, really taking the recommendations from the experts. And so yes, of course, we would adjust if for some reason, again, if not planning for this, but for some reason we would only be able to accommodate 1 student per room, et cetera, all of that would be adjusted. And for those students who wouldn't live on campus, of course, we wouldn't charge them. We would, even if we've already charged their student account, we would work with our bursar office colleagues and we would adjust that. So yeah, absolutely, there's flexibility there. That's the key word these last 13 months, flexibility.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Maggie. And just one quick note again to all of our guests. You can submit questions through the Q&A option at the bottom of your screen. However, we are working from a list of assembled questions that we already have that cover a lot of the concerns we've received. So we probably won't be able to get to your specific questions, but feel free to put them in there. And if we have time, we will address them. Next question, Tim, I'm going to throw over to you. So Maggie briefly mentioned that we have these residential learning communities, the RLCs. What are those? What does that mean for students living on campus?
Yeah, super exciting. So residential learning community, or you'll hear a lot of it, called RLC. These are different academic and theme-based learning communities. So a great example, if you're looking on our su.edu/living website, the CURE RLC, CURE Residential Learning Community, focuses on well-being and health. So it's an intentional focus within that RLC to focus on all 8 dimensions of well-being. So each of our different RLCs, and there are 9 of them, focus on a different aspect. Our Da Vinci community focuses on how the arts and humanities influence our STEM-based subjects. Our sci-fi community focuses on arts and sustainability. Our Communitas community, in which Brooke is a part of, focuses on the aspect of community service as part of our Jesuit mission. So each of our different residential learning communities, or RLCs, has a different theme. And as an incoming student, you'll have the ability to preference which learning community you'd want to live in based on the type of learning community and some of the linked courses that go with it.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And would our students, Alex and Brooke, would you be willing to share a little bit about your experiences living in these RLCs?
Yeah, absolutely. So my first 2 years, I was in the Modern Perspectives RLC, which is also Dunn Hall. And I had a wonderful experience. The interesting thing about the RLCs is, they kind of try to group, like they appeal to people, and then you're able to kind of be grouped together based off of somewhat like mindsets, which is really great for encouraging conversations and stuff like that. I know in particular, Modern Perspectives at the time was also one of the places that we were placing honors students. I mean, even though I wasn't part of that program, it was still really fun to engage with those people and see what was going on with their lives. Similarly, they, for our CTWs, they'll actually, which is our critical thinking and writing courses, they will group you together based off of your RLCs. So it's a really great opportunity to get to know other people that are in your building. And yeah, I just had a really positive experience with it. Some of my first friends I made within my RLC, and in fact, they were actually in different grades from me too. And it's, without them, I don't think I would have been able to make those connections.
I will reiterate a lot of what Alex said. I have had a great experience in Santa Clara's residential learning communities. As I said earlier, I was a part of Unity RLC, which is housed in McLaughlin Walsh Residence Hall. I love Unity a lot. It's their little symbol, love them. I am an honor student, so honor students are required to select their communities from a list of 4 or 5 different communities. So I personally knew that Unity was a place that I wanted to be. Like Alex said, RLCs are a great way to find like-minded people. Unity's theme is diversity as a catalyst for civic engagement. And I knew coming to Santa Clara, I came from a fairly homogenous suburban town, and I knew that coming to Santa Clara and coming to college, I wanted to get a lot of new perspectives, meet a lot of different people from different backgrounds. And I definitely think at Unity RLC, I was able to find that through the programming and through all of the community facilitators, the faculty director, and the spirituality facilitators. So I would definitely recommend Unity RLC, and I haven't met a person who's had a bad experience. So yeah.
Awesome, thanks so much. So Maggie, we're gonna head back to you. And this question you actually have briefly addressed already, but just to be clear, what is the housing application and roommate selection process like, and when is that due?
All right. Super important date, and I think it is for your enrollment deposit also, is May 1st. That is the critical date. Put that on the calendar, reminder, whatever you need to do to make sure you get your information by then. So May 1st is really the deadline that we have for the housing application, as well as if you are looking to request an exception for your residency requirement. So make sure, May 1st, critical date. The application itself is found in the housing portal. So all of this is what I love about Santa Clara, right? Everything is in eCampus. You have a list, you can kind of go down the line, and one of those items would be the housing application, or the link that then takes you to the housing portal. And that's your housing portal. That's where you start your application. That's where you would find the access requirement or residency requirement exception. But as part of the application process, just as Tim mentioned earlier, not only can you give us your ranking of your top 8 RLC preferences, and the goal of the housing office, I'm just going to say it again, and we've had a really good success with this. The housing office is really looking to place our students in one of their top 3 RLCs when you're coming as a first year student. Doesn't happen for everyone, but that's what what the goal is. And again, we ask for 8 of those preferences. The other part of that is providing a place where, if you know someone that you have connected with, you can request them as a roommate. It does have to be a mutual request, so that's very important. But not to worry, most of our students are actually come in to the process without having a requested roommate. So we also, as part of the application, there are some general questions that we've kind of fine-tuned through the years, and just based on feedback that we've received, based on best practices with some of the other institutions that we connect with. Those questions really help, a formula or algorithm that puts you together and matches students. So the big piece is RLC, and then also, the roommate, if you have that, and then if not, we have the compatibility questions.
Awesome, thanks so much. And we are going to actually get in just a minute our students' take on either requesting a roommate or not. But before we get there, a few follow-up questions. Is there any priority, Maggie, to submitting your housing application before May 1?
No, there isn't, because we wanted to give everybody that same opportunity to submit their application. As long as it's in by May 1st, then you're in that first group. So I guess there is priority if you get it in by May 1st. Then we do look at placing, again, placing you in the RLC, one of the top RLC preferences that you've submitted. So I guess that's what I would say. Not really priority, but as long as it's in by May 1st.
Right, you want to hit that May 1 first. Perfect.
Yeah.
And one more question along that note. If you submit your housing application before May 1 and then have a change, can you change your application that you've already submitted?
Yes, you may, absolutely. You may do that by sending an email to housing@scu.edu. So just the housing office, to the main housing email box. And then just make sure you include your campus ID number, your full name and campus ID number, and then just what is needed to shift or change, and we will make that change. May 1st is the critical deadline, because anytime after that, we're shifting the data to different offices. And so that's why that's the critical date. And we can only make those changes up until that May 1. So again, May 1, important date.
Awesome. Thanks so much. All right, Alex and Brooke, thoughts on roommate selection, going in, quote unquote blind or trying to match up with someone?
I can go first on this one. I personally decided to go random. I know that there are a lot of Facebook groups or Instagram accounts that allow new first years to meet each other. I was a part of those. I definitely recommend those if you want to meet people coming in. But I went random. Me and my first year roommate Maria, she was super cool. When you get matched up with someone, you will get their contact information, so we were able to email each other beforehand. We had a FaceTime with our parents. My mom very much likes to meet new people, so definitely going in random. I definitely had a good experience. Did we become best friends? No, but being in my room, it was always just a good place to be, to relax. So I definitely wouldn't have any reservations about going random. Santa Clara, we're all great people. Go Broncos. I have heard very few horror stories, so I definitely, if you have any reservations, I would not be scared of going random.
Yeah, the exact same situation as Brooke, basically, in which I also went in random. And I can't really more strongly encourage it, truth be told. You learn a lot when you live with somebody who you've never really met before. You learn a lot about yourself, and you learn a lot about the other person too. And I had a great time, similar to Brooke. Yeah, me and Zach, we are not, best friends or anything like that at this point, but we did live together during our first 2 years. And we learned how to live very cordially with each other, but it also taught me a lot about how to advocate for myself. You learn that the better way to address problems is not by hoping that they mysteriously resolve themselves, but by directly talking to your roommate. And I think that's done a lot easier, especially if you don't know them prior to coming into Santa Clara. So I strongly recommend it. And yeah, I had a really great experience with it.
Awesome. Thanks so much. All right, Tim, next question is coming to you. How do the RLCs help support first year students in their transition to Santa Clara?
Yeah, one of the things that our RLCs really grounded on is this aspect of connection. So residential learning community, you can also think about it as, excuse me. Pardon me. You can also think about it as relationship connections. Transition is what we're all about in res life and what we do. And we really just try to help students find connections to each other, to student leaders, to other staff in the building, and more importantly, our faculty. One of the unique things about our RLC program is that we actually have live-in faculty members within each of our RLC buildings. And so they're really there to help with the academic connection to universities, but we also have our community facilitators. And then for upper division students, we have our neighborhood representatives. And so these student leaders put on different programs throughout the week, multiple programs each night. We also have our leadership council, which is a really easy way to get involved in the building without having to go to an RSO, registered student organization event, or a chartered student organization event. So even in-house, we have programs that allow students to find connections with one another. And obviously part of the RLC experience is being in the linked courses. So your CTW courses, your CNI courses, you'll be able to have different study groups and meet different people within the RLC and not in the RLC necessarily. And if you're a commuter student, if you're a first year commuter student, we do offer commuter lounges within our buildings for our commuter students with lockers. And so our commuter students may also be assigned to an RLC, so they have a space to study, hang out, relax during the day. And we understand that the reality is that, coming to college can be stressful. It can be a really new and exciting experience. And so we want to make sure that when you live within RLCs, that you're able to get all the resources that you need. And so we have everything available to you if you ask for it. We really encourage all of our students who are living on campus to ask for the help that they need. And by living with someone, like Alex just said, you really learn how to advocate for yourself and understand what are my own needs within this space and who can I go ask for it? Because in our eyes, no question is a dumb question. And we really want you to ask those questions of our fantastic student staff that live within the communities, not just our CFs, but our assistant area coordinators, our assistant resident directors, and our resident directors, who are all live-in staff there for you as our students.
Awesome, thanks so much. Alex and Brooke, do either of you have any experiences you'd like to share of how your RLC kind of helped you in your transition to Santa Clara?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I come from out of state. I was originally from Colorado, so certainly drop off was a little bit strange. You know, like I remember Saturday after a remarkably efficient move-in process. It was basically I said goodbye to my parents at the corner of Market and Lafayette, and then like I knew I wasn't going to see them again for a while. So it was definitely a strange feeling, but almost immediately, the RLCs were there for me. The CFs were all over our hallways, just trying to get to know each other as best as possible, really make us feel welcome and at home. If I remember correctly, that very night, we had like a s'mores program or something like that. So they'd set a bunch of grills up outside. Of course, it was lovely out, and got to know a ton of residents that way. Met some of my friends during that program. So from the get-go, they immediately know that the transition has begun, and they immediately rope you in. And then I think what's really special too is they realize that the transition is continuous. It's not like for our sophomores that then they're like, okay, you should have this figured out by now. Like we're continually working with that. And as Tim mentioned, I've actually worked in a junior senior community for these past 4 years. So as a result, we know that your transition is always ongoing. So in this junior senior community in particular, then we're like, our programming shifts a little bit. And now we're talking about how to prepare our residents for like housing applications, and we're reviewing resumes and looking at internships and stuff like that. So the support is always ongoing, but they get you from the very beginning. And I think that was really awesome for my transition.
Yeah, for me, my RLC was also definitely there for me as I made my transition. The first introduction I had to my RLC was actually during our orientation program, where you're grouped based on your RLC. And definitely, I've made one of my best friends from orientation. We lived on the same floor, and we're going to be living together next year, which is super exciting off campus. So definitely, I think that just putting yourself out there, going to like as many programs as possible. I also went to, the classic s'mores night out on the lawn between Unity and Modern Perspectives. Our spirituality facilitators host weekly programs, so I would always drop into those. You would just put yourself out there and like get to know the new faces, hang out in the common spaces. Every single RLC should have lounges or basements or lobbies that allow residents to congregate and just meet new people. And again, with RLCs being with different themes, definitely you can find people with similar views, or if there are topics that you want to engage on, CFs and faculty directors that definitely want to help you engage in those new topics, especially coming to college and learning new things for the first time.
Awesome, thanks so much. Maggie, we're going to throw the next question to you. How do the meal plans work? And can students who are living off campus or commuting also have meal plans?
Yeah. First, let me just say, and I just had this conversation with the parent of an incoming student who was comparing the dining plan or the dining venues or the dining options with other institutions. And they said, my goodness, you all are like top notch. Bon Appetit really is a phenomenal partner in what we think of nourishing our students, really. And so all students who are living on campus are required to have a dining plan. For our incoming first year students, we have the basic plan or the preferred plan. And again, more information can be found on su.edu/living under the dining area. But we also do have the option for our students who, again, are commuter students or who are living in the neighborhood to purchase points that could then be used towards dining at our different venues here on campus. So that would be through the dining points plan. And what is wonderful about that is because those particular points are used specifically for dining, then you don't get taxed. That's the big piece. If you were to use your Flex account, which is another account also on your mobile credential, then you would get taxed. So you want to, if you're a commuter and you plan to have some meals on campus, use the Dining Point Plus. And that is all found also, again, you can get to it through the housing website, but that's through our Access card system. in our mobile credential, really. Did that answer that? Okay.
That's great. And I have one slight follow-up. Are there any local eateries or places off campus that accept any of these points?
Yeah, so we do have that option. Our Access office partners do really well with reaching out to the different vendors that surround the community. So everything from pizza to wraps to, and probably our students would know more about this because they probably get out there a little bit more. So I might turn it over to you all. But the critical part about that is the resident dining plan is used for the resident dining venues on the campus proper. The dining points are also, again, campus proper. It's the flex account that can be, points can be added there. So in lieu of cash or in lieu of some other card, I was saying, again, our students can probably speak to this. It's probably better to have it all in one place, and you have that, and you can always check your balances on all of your accounts through the Access office portal that you can look up. But again, I'd love to hear from. I think there's quite a bit of variety, I would say, right, Alex and Brooke?
Yeah, students, what do you think about the food on campus?
I definitely think that there are a lot of options both within on-campus dining. There's like 5 or 6 different stations where you can get your fix of like whatever you're craving, where it's like, oh, just a sandwich today, or it's like, oh, do I want to try a little special something. There's definitely a lot of options. In regards to off-campus, there are a lot of places within walking distance, a lot of boba places, very Bay Area, as well. Piece of My Heart is right across the street from campus, as well as Safeway, Ike's, a lot of the classics, and Flex accepts at a lot of these places.
Yeah, I think Brooke just nailed it right there. Yeah, I really appreciate the variety, and I saw Benson both before and after it got renovated, and it's been great. And it's kind of nice that it's also based off of meal points, because I think that means that the food is prepared better versus swipes. A lot of times it's just kind of, or like when you get those all you can eat kind of areas, it's not really made to order. It's more you just have to like pick up what you want. So you have that flexibility. I also know, and I have no idea if dining is going to be bringing this back. But I think last year they would have food trucks come on to campus every so often. And then you could actually use your dining points at those food trucks as well. I have no idea if they're planning on returning that program, but they, I think that was every Wednesday that they would throw in even additional variety for you. So yeah, it was great. And then for the flex, there's a list online, I believe, of where accepts flex. I also know like Ike's, which is a place I eat all the time, which is like a sandwich shop that's very close. They also take it. So a lot of places that it can be used.
Yeah, awesome. And one thing too, oh, Maggie, go for it.
I keep forgetting. We also have a new venue coming online on campus that we're very, very excited about. And I'm completely blanking on the name right now because I think it has gone back and forth. But in addition to what we have on campus, there's a new one coming on. And I think there's a really great opportunity to experience something different. So you'll be the first class to really experience this additional venue. And in addition, there's always that opportunity to provide feedback to our dining services partners. And so that's another opportunity. If you see something or you've heard of something, or there's something that's specific that you would like to see, they're always looking for feedback. So that's the other piece that we really appreciate about our Bon Appetit partners.
Awesome. Thank you for that update, Maggie. I also just want to make the note too to any students who have dietary restrictions or anything specific about your diet, you can find those menus online so that before you go, you can have a sense of what you're going to be able to eat. We do accommodate our students' dietary requests and different dietary needs. One other thing too, just to mention, for myself, I have been a student on both types of plans, a point-based plan and a swipe-based plan. And one huge benefit to the point-based plan is one, if you just need a quick snack and you want to run in, you don't have to waste an entire meal. You can just grab exactly what you want. And also you can take all of your meals to go. That's not really the case with the swipe-based. Usually you have to eat there in the facility. When you buy on a points-based plan, you can take meals to go, which is great. Okay, next question. We're going to throw it over to Tim. We have both Alex and Brooke have mentioned kind of the grills and these like s'mores nights outside. So there's been mention of shared grills and shared cooking spaces in the RLCs. How do students utilize those?
Yeah, so each of our communities do have kitchens available. Some have one, some have multiple, so it just depends on the building. But our front desk does provide some basic supplies if they have it for the kitchens. But as students living on campus, you are more than welcome to bring your own pots and pans and cooking utensils to like use your own stuff. So that way you know it's like stuff that you like and that you can trust. The outdoor grills are available to students. Again, it's just one of those things that if we have some of the items that you can use at the grill at the front desk, we are more than happy to loan them out. And it's a loaning system. So you'd give us an ID or some form of collateral to be able to use them. But most of the time, students will bring some of their own supplies. So for the outdoor grills, like a small bag of charcoal or different things like that. I will say, if you are going to be cooking in an indoor kitchen, like bacon or steak, they do cause a little bit more smoke. The smell is great, but the smoke will linger. So just be cognizant of the things that you're cooking in our community kitchens. The other thing is that we also do allow mini fridges within the residence hall space, within your own residential room space. So if you and your roommate were going to split who brings the TV, who brings the micro fridge, you can definitely do that. We also do offer rentable refrigerators as well for you all, should that be an option for you. But yeah, if you want to bring your own cooking supplies and cook in the kitchens, you are more than welcome to do so. I know a lot of our CFs really take the time in wanting to do some like oven baked things like cookies, and or doing outdoor things like this big s'mores program that is always a big hit in the late fall quarter. So yeah, if you want to cook in the building, you're more than welcome to do so. But remember, it is also a community kitchen. So you don't necessarily want to store your items in that kitchen, but you're allowed to bring them with you and cook within our kitchen spaces.
Awesome, thanks. And to our students, any kind of advice or experiences to share about how often students are using these community kitchens, or times when you have and it's been enjoyable?
Yeah, I mean, I personally use them a ton, particularly for baking and those kinds of things. The front desks are usually able to check out equipment to use the kitchen, so you don't even have to procure that stuff on your own. You know, you can get pots and pans and all that kind of stuff, and you can cook whatever you want to. Also for Benson, they do have a seller market where you can buy all sorts of, you know, just it's like a little grocery store basically. So you can buy a ton of stuff from there too, and then you can bring it back and cook in the residence halls. So I know they were used quite often, and there's a ton of cabinet space. So I know that some people in particular, like they would actually, if they had like various dietary restrictions or something like that, a lot of times they were even able to take like their own portions of the kitchen in terms of cabinets and like keep their stuff there appropriately. So I know residents are using them all the time. Certainly, yeah, fire alarms are going off every so often. But you know, prefer they'd be used with the occasional mishap than not used at all.
Yeah, I would also agree that the kitchens are a great resource. Definitely a lot of, you know, late night cookie baking. As Alex mentioned, the Seller Market, which is located on the lower level of Benson, is basically like a little grocery store that you can spend your meal points with. So they have cookie dough that, you know, I might use a little bit frequently my first year with some of my friends. And as well, it also has the potential to create, you know, like full scale meals. I remember my first year on Easter, one of my friends was like, let's just make a big dinner. So we made a big dinner, and we had like 20 of our like friends come by, and we were just like, you know, like made like a big old like dish of pasta and a salad, and you know, it felt like home. So I definitely think that there's a great potential for using food to connect with others in your RLCs.
Awesome, thank you. Tim, another question coming your way. Are there any times during the quarter, like a Thanksgiving break, for example, or in between quarters, that students have to vacate their housing?
Yes, there are times that we do ask students to vacate their housing for a duration of time. So Thanksgiving is a good example. So we will ask you to leave the building by a certain date and time. And then the buildings will reopen at a certain date and time. So Thanksgiving, winter break is usually a really big one too. So winter break, we will ask students to leave by a certain date and time. It's usually the Saturday right after final, or excuse me, the Friday right after finals, Friday or Saturday right after finals. So that way you have some time to, like, I don't know, get your life together before you leave campus. And so yes, you will be asked to leave campus, but you do not need to pack everything up in between those times when we're asking you to leave, especially between the fall and winter quarter, since it is a little bit more of a substantial break for our students. You can literally just pack your bag, leave everything in there. We'll have a checklist of things that you'll need to do to, like, prepare your room for winter break, but you don't have to pack up everything. It's the number one question we get coming around winter break. Do I have to pack up everything and move again? No, you don't have to do that, because we like to keep everyone in somewhat of a routine. So yes, there are times throughout the quarter that we do ask students to vacate the buildings for a duration of time. And I see that I know that the other question is that, are there exceptions to this? We will make the occasional exception. However, we also work with our wonderful partners in the housing office to help us determine this, because we also just want to make sure that if we are having people stay in the building, that we also have enough support for them while they're in community. So yes, the long answer to the question is yes, we do ask students to leave at certain times of the quarter, but it's really for your mental health, for the staff's mental health, and for everyone to just really get a break from being on campus and being in classes and different things.
Just a quick modification, because things change frequently and we're so for the Thanksgiving break, we don't currently now, or not planning to ask students to leave the building. It's my understanding is it's during the winter break. That's when we would ask for the student to leave the building. Again, as Tim mentioned, you can leave your items, your personal belongings in the space. You don't have to check out every time. That's not, you check in at the beginning of the year, you check out at the end of the year. That's the plan. But in terms of the student physically leaving the community, the plan, at least for this coming year, is for winter break only. Just wanted to update everybody.
Great. And the other thing I will say is that our staff take a long time in notifying students of when we're going to have building closures. So I know Brooke and Alex have been part of our notification process with our students, and I would say it's at least a good 3 weeks minimum when we start telling students, like, hey, don't forget, like, this is when you need to be out of the building. So yeah, we do take a lot of time to notify students when we do have those big closures for the residence halls.
Awesome, thank you both. Okay, to our students, Alex and Brooke, could you share a little bit about what social life is like in the RLCs and on campus at Santa Clara?
Yeah, I can't remember who's up first here, Brooke, but so I can start. Social life it's been great. I mean, it's like I said, that's how I met all my friends, and all my current friends are mostly from Santa Clara. Certainly on long weekends, things can get a little bit quiet. I think a lot of people like to take those opportunities to travel. Santa Clara is located in such a prime location in terms of the beach and Tahoe, and even people will take like trips down to Yosemite and stuff like that, especially for like longer breaks. So long weekends can get a little bit quiet, but otherwise people mostly stick around. And it's really fun. I've never had a weekend during which I had a hard time finding what I wanted to do. Certainly, I can strongly encourage getting to know the people in the class above you as well, particularly for first years. I don't believe you'll be allowed to have a car, but those sophomores do. So you can go on trips with them, and they're always so happy to take people. And if you want to stay on campus, though, there's tons of opportunities as well. We'll sometimes program around the weekends. Some other clubs and stuff will also offer opportunities around then too. Otherwise, people might just be hanging out, grabbing lunch whenever they want to. Or actually, it's mostly brunch on the weekends. But it's, there's always people around, and there's always people that are willing to do things. So yeah, I always was having a good time.
Yeah, I agree with Alex. Like I mentioned earlier, all of the RLCs have like common spaces that I lived and have only lived in traditional style residence halls where, you know, you have your room and then all of the bathrooms are down the hall. So that definitely allowed me to meet a lot of people. I was a big lounge girl, spent a lot of time in the lounges, as well at the front desk in every LLC. You can rent out like board games and that kind of stuff. Was big into cards my first year, and also many of the lounges and the basements as well have either projectors or TVs where you can like watch movies with your friends. And I definitely utilize a lot of that my first year.
Awesome, thanks. Okay, Maggie, next question is coming your way. If a student over the summer has a local internship to the Santa Clara area, are they able to live in housing on campus?
That's a great question. We do actually offer summer housing. It is typically in one building. This coming summer will be in Sobrato. You do have to be a current student to then, you know, the current academic year to then qualify to be on campus in the summer. So it would be the following summer of 2022 for our incoming first years. But yes, we do have that option. I do want to mention we do prioritize that a little bit because depending on how many of our students are needing housing for the summer, but we do have that information again on our housing website under how do I apply for summer housing, and that should get you to the summer page. And that will give you an idea of the groups, but we do prioritize giving housing to our students who are taking courses for the summer here at Santa Clara University, whether it's online or in person. We do offer that housing for those students and we give them priority, as well as some of our student staff that we have on campus who are helping multiple offices on the campus proper. But I have in the 20-something summers that I've worked at Santa Clara, I don't think I've ever seen that we haven't been able to accommodate our students who need housing for the summer. The critical pieces that you are in good good standing with the university, right? No behavioral issues, because that could impact, but I think that's overall, right? What we're looking at, but yes, that should be an option.
Awesome, thanks so much. And actually, before we jump to the next question, there's a question that's just come up that we'll clarify. And so Alex, I'm just going to ask you to clarify this for cars and first year students. What is allowed?
My understanding, and Maggie, maybe you can confirm this for me, but is that first years cannot have cars on campus, that it's only for our sophomore through higher level standing students.
That's correct, yep.
Thank you for that clarification.
Although there is, for those students who might have, you know, our commuter students or who might have I'll just say like a medical reason or a reason why they might, there is a process through our transportation services office that you can, you know, connect with that office and see if there's any option, because of course, if there are some specific reasons, but in general, just as Alex shared, yes. Sorry, no permit that first year, but you know, certainly as Alex said, the following years.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay, next question is going to Tim and whoever else wants to jump in on this one. So we've mentioned how students can be placed in a class based on their RLC. How does that work? And what do students do if they don't like the class?
I'm going to let Maggie take part of this question, so that way she can explain a little bit of the operational side behind it, and then I can take the rest of it.
And Claire, I'm so sorry, I was reading one of the questions on the chat. So one more time, just one more time.
Yeah, no problem. So students can be placed in a class based on their RLC. What do they do if they don't like the class they're placed into?
Oh, yeah. So to be, you know, in true transparency, we place you in, the process is the student is filling out the spiff, which we've seen some of our attendees here ask about the spiff a little bit. That is a form that, again, it's on your eCampus. It's part of your list. It's one of the things you need to fill out and be complete by May 1st. So that information is used to place students in special communities like Slurp, Swan, Spark, Imagine, Chow Da Vinci, wonderful communities, special communities. That some of that information then is used to then help us with the placement of the residential learning community for each of our students. But again, the housing office really focuses on the top 3 preferences. All of that to then say, once that's done, and once a student is placed in the community, that is done, it's fixed. It's only when you're coming in and before you register for your fall courses that all of that information really comes into play. Once you actually have started, you're here, you find, oh, this class is not, if you've already started, then you work with the Drama and Advising Center to help you modify that if needed. But really, it's the RLC piece of it and the class piece of it is really for the beginning, the transition to campus. And once you're here, that may not necessarily be as much of an impact. Now, if you are looking, let's say you apply, you apply for housing, you get placed in an RLC, you're not quite sure about the RLC, and then you find out about the courses also, and you're like, not quite sure about that. The first place, again, is still to start with the Drama and Advising Center, because that's where, the academic part of it, and those are experts in that particular area. We want your academics to be, in line with whatever program you are in, whether school you're in, or if you're in the honors program, you're in lead, you're an athlete. That's the piece. Those experts in the Drama Center would know about, what to do. Then after that, we might come back to the housing office and look at possibly an RLC change. But again, Drama Center would be really critical with any of the academic pieces. Is that in line? Because
And another thing that's important to remember with your RLC linked courses is that they are 2-quarter courses. So you'll want to definitely make sure that whether you're not feeling the RLC or the courses, that you're going to want to check in with our Drama and Advising Center partners, because it could impact your schedule in a different way. And the RLC courses are designed to be 2 quarters, so that way from a scheduling perspective as a student, it's a lot easier for you. But again, there are students who do ask for that change and have gone through that process. So we're not saying that it can't be done, but we also, to Maggie's point, we take a very long time in making sure that we match the student to the RLC, which then ultimately will match them to the RLC linked courses. So it's not just like we throw your names on a wall and then we just throw darts at where we think you might go. It's a pretty involved process, and I don't even see all of it, but I know that Maggie and a lot of our housing partners take a great deal of time in matching students throughout that process. But again, if you don't feel like you're getting something out of this course, or the RLC may not be the best fit, always start with our Drama and Advising Center partners, because they're awesome, they're great people, and we really enjoy working with them, and they're a critical part of our partnership on campus. But again, I can only speak to Maggie and I can only speak to the operational end of it. So I would love to hear what the actual experience is like from Brooke and Alex. Sorry, Claire, I just took part of the question.
No, I was going to say, for our students, what have been your experiences with these RLC linked classes?
I will say that because I'm an honors student, I don't have the traditional experience. All of the honors classes for CTW and CNI are pre-assigned to you, and they are mixed with some students from your RLC, as well as with honor students from other RLCs. So the honors class sizes are 17. So there were 4 students from Unity, and then 4 students from Modern Perspectives, Alpha, and CASA, which were the RLCs. It was definitely great getting to know people from other RLCs as well. So I think Alex can probably speak more to the traditional experience.
Yeah, I gotta love that non-honors experience. It was great. I mean, I actually didn't hear really of anyone trying to get out of their RLC related courses, but particularly. It's worth mentioning that the CTW in general, they all kind of have the same expectations across the board. The only thing that's going to vary really are going to be the themes that you experience and maybe some slight expectation differences. But as a result, it's not like you're trying to leave a CTW for an easier one. They're all asking for the same thing. So I really enjoyed mine. Mine was all with students in the Modern Perspective RLC, and more specifically, it was primarily engineers, because that was my actually both undergraduate and master's degree. So it was really great. I met a ton of people through it, and I didn't really want to change through it either. as Tim mentioned, since it is 2 quarters, you really get to know these people really well. And it's a great way to form connections. So I didn't try to leave mine, and I don't know if anyone else did. I was allowed to choose my CNI. My CNI was not tied to my RLC, but I know that's not always the case. And it just kind of varies by community.
Awesome,
And
thank
just
you.
to also clarify, the link courses are core courses. So unless you're in one of these other programs that these are link course or core courses that students are going to need to take anyway. So that's the other piece. It's to Tim's comment earlier, and also the students, we take a great deal of time to look at all the different pieces of the puzzle that need to come together. And so Dr. Phil Keston on this other side, on the academic side, he also works a tremendous amount of hours with the pre-enrollment and the classes part of it. And so it's really a very thoughtful and in essence, a very unique program that we have at Santa Clara. I really don't know of any other institution that's doing this much work ahead of time, again, to place our students in the best position when they transition to campus, not only and I think that's the Jesuit piece of it, that holistic view that we look at, not only in the classroom, but how do we connect that to the residence hall, which we hope will quickly become their community, their home, and then their other pieces, their other community responsibilities or involvement that they have. It's really a unique program. I can't say that enough.
Thank you so much for adding that in, Maggie. A question actually for you that I'll direct your way. So you've mentioned before the housing requirement for students to live on campus. For local students, do they have the opportunity to appeal, and what is that process like? I believe you mentioned it briefly earlier.
Oh, yes. There are especially local students that are within a 30-mile radius of the campus. And there are, I believe, 8 other reasons why we would go ahead and move forward with a exception approval. And so, but yes, absolutely. There's a form on the housing portal. So again, if you go to eCampus, you get to the housing link, it takes you to the housing portal, and there's a form that's available, residency requirement exception form. Yep. And that's, I think we are taking between 7 and 14 business days to review those, just depending on the case. But most of them are very straightforward, and especially for our local students, those are pretty they get approved fairly quickly.
Wonderful, thank you. And so checking our time, we are at the end essentially of our session. So we do have one more question that I'm going to direct first to Tim and then to Maggie to close out. And they will be dropping any information into the chat for follow-up, like an email or a website if you still have questions that you cannot get answered. But to start with Tim, so if a student chooses Santa Clara, they're living on campus and they have a problem or they need support, what are the types of things they can go to ResLife for support?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, to highlight our amazing student leaders. Our student staff, our student leaders receive about, between 20 to 30 hours in conflict management and wellness training in a variety of disciplines. But our student leaders are probably some of the best leaders on this campus because they are truly equipped to handle student issues and refer them to different offices. So, I like to think I'm hip and cool, but I always refer, thanks, Brooke. I always refer students to our student staff because of that peer connection. So if a student is experiencing some sort of issue, they can always go to our student staff, and then we have like processes on the back end that should a student staff member continue to be concerned about a student, they can elevate the issue to their supervisor and then ultimately up to someone at my level to help triage any concerns. We also work with the Office of Student Life, and they do a wonderful job of outreaching to students if they have a variety of concerns. And we also have a campus advocate within our wellness center that can help with student meeting different needs. And so the biggest thing that we tell students coming on campus is that you are truly never alone in this experience. Like I said, our student staff are a great place to start. But there are other people within your residential community that can also be there for you. So your spirituality facilitator, your faculty director, your resident director, and then the number of different campus offices that we have here for you. And our goal at the end of the day is to watch you be successful in what you do. So we always tell students living in building, like, you have 5 people immediately available to you before you even step out of the building for any other resources. And when we do have to activate any of our other campus partners, everyone's in it to make sure that you are doing well and that you can be successful.
Awesome, thanks so much. And Maggie, same to housing. If a student has issues, what are the things housing can help them with?
Yes, I kind of think about it within this context. So the housing office, and this includes business services and building operations. So if we think about the physical buildings, and then also the people, getting people or our students, our community members into the building, that's kind of what we do before we transferred over to Brooke and Alex and Dr. Leyson and the rest of the wonderful Residence Live community that we have there, or team members. So if it's something to do with movement of, moving around in the building from one bed to another, a room change that might be requested, or if there's something going on with the physical room, there's a facilities issue in the room, whether it's emergency or non-emergency, because we have, a process for both, working through both of those. If there's something that the dining plan isn't working, or you would like to get some information about how to change your dining plan, so or your mailbox, how your mailbox number. So it's the process of the people moving in the building, and then it's the community building that our colleagues do. So meal plans, room changes, sometimes cancellations, things happen, and a student might need to inquire about possibly canceling for the term, or any of the administrative type of processes, their mailbox number, their application, their housing application, when can they apply for the following year? That's what we work on the housing side of the team.
Awesome, thank you. And one last question as we close it up. Do we have a sense for the fall of when move-in weekend would be?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask the question. Then.
We might not.
Yeah, no,
but just
no,
ask.
So we do. I know we are. We do have a calendar that's updated, and I do believe we're following that calendar. And I'm going to give you the wrong date if I give you a date right now. So I don't want to do that. But if classes start on that Monday, then move-in is probably that Saturday before. We sometimes have, and this is the piece that's still working out, because with our COVID process that's going on, or what's happening with COVID-19, and then also with solidifying the Welcome Weekend program for our new students in our new student programs, that might shift things a little bit. But again, we are going to do our best to get information out to our community members. So I know this is the challenge, and we are trying to find other ways of communicating with our students. Most of our communication is to your SEU email. And I know not all of our students, read the emails, but we couldn't encourage you enough to please pay attention to the SEU, any of the emails that are coming to your SEU account, because that is the main way that we would be communicating information, or, perhaps your preferred email while you're making your transition to our campus. But that is the main mode, and that's where we would communicate any changes or shifts or any updates. It's definitely how we will let you know that your housing assignment is done, and this is your roommate information and move-in instructions, etc., and what a website to go to for what to bring when you're moving in, and what that experience will actually look like. So again, please, website, email, make sure you stay on top of that and keep checking.
I was muted. Thank you so much. And huge thank you also to all of our 4 wonderful panelists, Alex, Brooke, Tim, and Maggie. You guys have been great. You've shared so much great experience with our students and your knowledge. It's super helpful. And thank you also for putting some links and other information in the chat. That's been very helpful as well. To all of our attendees, we're so excited to welcome you to our campus. We hope SCU is your future home. If it's not, that's okay. Best of luck to you wherever you go. I would encourage you as well to our attendees. We still have some more preview week events throughout the day today, so feel free to check those out. We have an alumni session with multiple breakout rooms so you can connect with different alumni. We have a number of student run like game nights and game sessions where you can just connect and get to know other students who are also considering Santa Clara. So lots of ways to continue. Thank you so much. This recording and other recordings from this week, including the parent panel last night, will be available. We have to process and download and do all of our editing to the videos, and then we will let you know when those are available. They will be added to our YouTube page and to our website. So thank you so much for joining us. Have a great rest of your day, and we can't wait to welcome you to SCU. Bye, everyone.